The Tennis Masters Cup here in Shanghai. Jason Goodall alongside Robbie Koenig for semi-final action, and for the first time ever here, the last four doesn't feature the defending champion Roger Federer. Instead, it's Novak Djokovic who leads the way. 1-2 matches, lost one in round-robin action, beat Del Potro and Davydenko before losing to the Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. And he's up against another Frenchman, Gilles, making his debut in the season-ending finale. He beat Federer and Stepanek before losing to Murray, and only just found out he made the semis later last night because Murray was able to beat Federer in his final group match. He's the only unbeaten player in the tournament so far after that epic clash, and he's up against Nikolai Davydenko, who beat Jo-Wilfried Tsonga and Juan Martín del Potro but lost to Novak Djokovic. He's the only player of the four remaining in the tournament that knows what it's like to play in the semi-finals of the Tennis Masters Cup. He made it in 2005 before losing to David Nalbandian 6-love, 7-5 in the semi-final. So he has the advantage of experience on his side, whereas the other players, of course, have the advantage of youth. It's a big day for the Frenchman here. Didn't know that he'd qualified until the late hours of yesterday evening. And of course, he has absolutely nothing to lose coming into this particular match, because everything now is just icing on the cake for him. What a sensational 6 months it has proved to be for the Frenchman. It looks a little tense though, and obviously, given the enormity of the occasion, he will want to put on the best possible performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our coach from France, Gilles.
It's going to be interesting to see how he performs today, because he's done remarkably well this week, given that it's the first time he's ever qualified for the Tennis Masters Cup. Exactly,
Jason. I've been so impressed with the way the Frenchman has handled the big occasion. It's never easy playing in this sort of environment on your first time. Just have a look at Novak Djokovic, how much he struggled last year when he came to the Tennis Masters Cup. And I think he's done remarkably well, and I'm expecting this to be a tight encounter. He knows what it takes to beat the Serb.
Had an absolute nightmare last year, lost all three of his round-robin matches, but back with a vengeance in 2008. And he's played well throughout the course of the week, and didn't perhaps give 100% in his last match against Tsonga in that deciding set. Instead, chose to save his energy for semi-finals. Was criticised in some quarters for doing that, but given what Murray went through yesterday evening, it might prove to be an intelligent move. He's had 24 hours rest as well, so he'll come into this match raring to go.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope there's no hangover from that third set against Tsonga at the start of this match, because Simo's been in scintillating form, and if you're not on top of your game against the Frenchman, he will make you pay dearly. So important if Djokovic gets off to a good start in this match.
It's a dream come true really for Simo, because nobody thought that he would be one of the 8 players that qualified for the season-ending championships at the beginning of the year. He got in through the back door because, of course, Nadal withdrew at the very last minute with tendinitis in his knee, had to pull out of the Davis Cup final as well next weekend, but he's certainly taken advantage of his opportunity this week, and so nice to see him here mixing it with the world's best, because he's been doing that now for 6 months.
All right, gentlemen, same condition as previous matches, nothing new really. Just to remind you about TV changeovers, as you know, they'll stop the music when I'll call time. Yeah? Any questions? No? Want to call it Gilles? Yeah. Yeah? There you go. Okay.
Enrique Molina is the umpire.
That's tails for you. Okay.
Nice day.
Okay, good match, guys.
And we echo those sentiments. Djokovic seems relatively relaxed, but he's had his game face on all week. I think he's wanted to come here this year and prove to everybody that he's still one of the very best players in the world, particularly after his disappointing performance here last year. And he starts this match as the slight favourite. Obviously ranked a great deal higher than the Frenchman, who's currently number 9 in the world. Djokovic, of course, had an opportunity to take over the number 2 position in the world rankings earlier in the season, but failed to do so, losing to Rafael Nadal in the semi-finals of Hamburg, but is still ranked number 3 in the world. It's been a sensational season, of course. Started in dramatic fashion by winning his very first Grand Slam in Australia, and I think then just went on this huge learning curve, because you never know what it's going to be like being a Grand Slam champion until it happened, and he did have a lot to learn.
He sure did. Playing with that weight of expectation, it's a completely different feeling to playing when you're the underdog. You really have nothing to lose when you're the underdog. There's no expectation from the crowd, and he handled it pretty well in the beginning. Remember, he won the title in Indian Wells, backed it up nicely with that win in Rome. But the second half of the year, by his lofty standards, hasn't quite been what he would have liked. And I think by doing well here and hopefully winning this year-end championships, I think that would salvage a bit of pride, given what happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah, Rome was the 4th Masters Series shield that he's proudly placed on his mantelpiece back home in Belgrade, and things were looking good. Semi-finals of the French Open, beaten by Nadal, not a lot you can do about that. Final at Queen's was looking like he was playing some good ball on the grass, but that defeat at Wimbledon to Marat Safin changed his season and hasn't played particularly well since. This week he had a good win over Del Potro in his first round-robin match. The Argentine looked a little tight in his first match at the season-ending championships, and then the tight one was against Davydenko, and the Russian had chances in the first and the third sets of that match, and then of course he lost to Tsonga when he knew he was already through as winner of the group. And that's always an interesting situation for players. You'd like to think they'd give 100% all the time, but of course he had semi-finals on his mind, and in that third set didn't quite give 100% in terms of trying to get the win, but he might be proved right if he can come out and play very well indeed this afternoon. He's going to need to if Simon plays his very best tennis, because he's difficult to play against because of the style of tennis that he likes to use. He's won 3 titles this year: Casablanca on the clay, Indianapolis on the hard courts, and of course he defended his title in Bucharest a little later in the season. Again, that one was on clay, which I think Robbie was undoubtedly, it used to be his favourite surface, but of late he's playing so much more aggressively. So that's allowed him to play an awful lot better on other surfaces as well.
That's an excellent point, and I think that is a bit of a feature of the French players. They grow up playing on the clay, but they also have a lot of indoor tournaments as well, and I think they learn all court tennis, and Simon's really adapted that now at the highest level. Clay was the break-in point, but now he's showing us that he can have good results, obviously, on indoor surfaces. Who can forget the epic match that he played in the semi-finals of Madrid to beat Nadal? That really showed everybody in the locker room how good he can compete on these hard courts.
Yeah, one of the best matches of the year, that one. No Masters Series shields as yet, but he was runner-up, of course, in Madrid and semi-finalist in Toronto. This week he had the big win against Federer early on, 6-3 in the third, played really well in that deciding set, was duffed up really by Murray. They played similarly. Murray just had more firepower in both sets, and then Stepanek was relatively poor yesterday, but Simon didn't allow him to play his normal game, and Stepanek said afterwards that having beaten the Frenchman at the French Open comfortably in straight sets, he was amazed at the improvements that Simon had made in every single area of his game, and I think we all echo those sentiments. Now, these two have met just the once previously, and interestingly it was the first tournament after Djokovic had won the Australian Open, and Simon won in 3 tight sets.
Absolutely, and Djokovic perhaps a little bit jaded after all that went down in Oz, but as you can see, nonetheless, it was a tight affair, and from a mental point of view, Simon's going to have the edge because he knows what it takes to beat Djokovic, and I think he's going to be feeling pretty confident given how well he's played the last 6 months. So I think this is pretty much 50-50. The only advantage perhaps that Djokovic has is that he's played more bigger matches, but it's a tight one to call, Jason.
No question about it. Got a good man in the chair too, Enrique Molina, who's had a good season as well. But interesting that you mention that he's beaten Djokovic there in their only previous meeting. It's not just Djokovic that Simon has had success against when we're talking about players at the very highest level of the game.
Absolutely. He's beaten Federer twice this year. He's beaten Nadal and he's one of only a couple of guys to take down the top 3 players in the world. So that just gives an idea of how well the Frenchman has been playing. Only Andy Murray and Andy Roddick have beaten the trio of Nadal, Federer and Djokovic.
How would you assess Djokovic's season? Any year in which you're able to win a Grand Slam has to go down as being successful, obviously. But I'm sure they will be looking to try and finish the year on a high, because the second half of the season hasn't been as fruitful as they would have wanted, has it?
Especially given that he won the Oz Open early on. I'm sure he would have liked to get at least one more major under his belt. But in all fairness, it was his first major. It's a good year no matter what. I guess what he dealt with well this year was everybody knew his number. They knew what Novak Djokovic was all about. And guys start to work you out. So I think that's why we saw some indifferent results. And more players in the locker room. Word gets around about how Djokovic plays. Next year, I think he'll be used to that burden of expectation. So I'll be looking for Djokovic to push on and perhaps bag another major title. That's what his goals will be.
The stadium was pumping last night. It's not quite full to capacity yet this afternoon, but I'm sure it will be sooner rather than later. And this the first of the day's semi-final action. Andy Murray will take on Nikolai Davydenko a little later this evening. They'll take to the court not before 7:30 local time. Initially, it's the second seed from Serbia, Novak Djokovic. Who starts this particular match as favourite against the Frenchman, who's currently ranked number 9 in the world, Gilles. As always, best of 3 tie-break sets. Is it fair to say, Robbie, that these guys play relatively similarly from the back of the courts, looking to be aggressive but rock solid when under pressure?
Yes, in general terms, I think that's fair. Djokovic, it's a lot more spin on his ground strokes than Sima. Sima likes to flatten out the ball a lot more.
It's going to be important to serve well this evening. Both have weaker forehands and stronger backhands, and they've worked hard at trying to improve their serves. Djokovic made great strides last season in that department. Seymour has done well this year in that regard. Still, the Frenchman's second serve is attackable, and that's going to be an interesting subplot to this match, whether Djokovic can really step up the court and take that ball on whenever he gets the opportunity.
I think in a match of this importance, Gilles wants to get off to a solid start. Doesn't want to go behind early on. Does dent the confidence a bit. But saying that, he's done pretty well this year when he has fallen behind. He's led the tour with 14 match wins after losing the opening set.
It's a lovely shot. High margin thrower as well, hitting with a lot of topspin. There's a nice arc to the ball.
Love 30.
Good length.
30.
Beautiful shot selection from Seymour. Didn't panic. He had a chance to perhaps come in off this ball there. He chose to stay back. Measured this forehand beautifully.
Let's service. And Simon.
Will help settle the nerves. It was an assured service game. These guys have enjoyed an awful lot of success this season. Started working with one another earlier this year.
Gave that forehand a good smack. It's a good all-round point, but he's such a good defender as Simo. Oof, yes, he's saying one or two inches higher. Nice when you start a match, striking the ball cleanly.
And I guess that's what Djokovic has to guard against, being forced ever closer to the lines, given how well Seymour defends and how many balls he tends to get back in play. And there's another case in point.
That Frenchman lists his hobbies as PlayStation, Game Boy, and fitness training. Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. Obviously puts in a lot of hard work off the court. It's obviously paid off this season, because I've never seen him move this well. Really has taken it to another level.
Break point. Well, he would pay some good money for a do-over there. What an opportunity.
You almost had too many options with that shot. Sometimes that's a bad thing.
Well, both players love that backhand up the line. And that's going to be an interesting duel as well this evening, as to which of them can execute that particular shot the best. Another chance to break.
Second time he's pulled the trigger on the second serve. He did it in the last break point. And it's a good tactic. Big fan of that tactic. Even though the outcome wasn't exactly what he desired, it still sends a strong message to Djokovic. Those up-the-line shots from Djokovic are always a good indicator of how well he's hitting the ball, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously he just hasn't quite found his range as yet this evening. Frenchman gets there in the end.
Simon leads 2-1.
And again, movement was the key.
30-1.
Oh yes, what a shot.
I think he enjoyed it more than Simo. Simo's hit so many of them last couple of weeks, it's becoming the norm. 160 kilometers an hour, that forehand.
And that'll give him a lot of confidence because we know he's got a world-class backhand, but sometimes that forehand can be a little bit of a liability, especially when he looks to be aggressive with it, and that bodes well.
Djokovic's strength, taking the ball early. Wasn't a whole lot of difference with the pace of that shot. Just was up the court about an extra meter or so. It was enough to take time away from Simo.
Let's. First service.
Good anticipation by the Frenchman. The ball was just too deep for him to control. Well, he's tempting that particular shot so far today.
15-1.
It's a beautiful shot. And he loves that particular pattern of play, opening up the court with the serve and then being really aggressive with that first ground stroke, particularly if it's the backhand. Lovely little volley as well, rock solid, nice firm wrist. Crucially, didn't try and do too much with it. And it's been a very assured performance so far.
It's one of the features of Simo, I believe, is that his movement is so efficient. He's not this big imposing player. He's not like a Nadal or a guy who's 6'3", and you don't expect all that he's got in his armory. He just goes about doing his business so efficiently. And I think it's quite easy for you as an opponent to underestimate the qualities that he has.
That's
Good anticipation.
Yeah, both players doing everything well. Beautiful backhand volley, inch perfect. That set up the point completely for Djokovic, and I think he's going to need to do a little bit more of that this evening. Not be scared to attack the Simo forehand.
It's a tough shot against anybody, but particularly against somebody who's as quick as Simo.
Yeah, executing that ball a meter behind the baseline as well. It's a difficult shot to pull off. It hasn't been plain sailing on serve for Djokovic, that's for sure. But we knew that. Simo, one of the best returners in the business.
Just making a few too many unforced errors in his games, that's all. 11 in total now.
Djokovic.
A couple of good first serves when he needed them most. Did the damage though, but it's the Frenchman who leads. 4-3 first set. Well, the first really testing baseline duel between these two. .29 strokes, and again it's the Djokovic forehand that ends up breaking down. 7 unforced errors off that particular wing out of a total of 12 now.
Struggling to find his range. He's not missing by much. It's annoying enough though.
I think he's feeling the pressure a little bit of not being comfortable in these long baseline exchanges. When Murray beat Simon the other night, he won the vast majority of those protracted baseline rallies, and it was Simon who was trying to mix things up and go for a little too much.
To me it seems almost like the more you attack Simo, the more he enjoys it. Murray was just content to sit back and change up the pace, and he almost forced the Frenchman to fire the first blow. And Simo misfired a few times with the forehand in that match against Murray in particular.
And especially when Murray used his slice backhand down the line. With very little pace, a little bit of side spin on there. And he didn't like that particular shot. That was an excellent service game. Just 4 more points now, all that he requires in order to pocket this opening set.
30-15.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the approach shot that time. Timed the backhand very well indeed. Just a little late on the forehand, a little tentative perhaps. He's not a natural volleyer. He has tried to improve that area of his game in the last couple of seasons. He's under pressure once more on serve. Well, it's an interesting opening set, this one, and Djokovic now needing to respond, and his fans urging him to do so. Set point for the Frenchman. That was a much better point, construct beautifully.
And for me, the big difference there, Jason, is the penultimate shot. This volley, he doesn't try and do too much with it, because he knows he's going to be able to finish the point with the next shot. Whereas in the previous point, when he had the easy forehand volley, I think he tried to hit it a little too close to the line, wanted to end the point too quickly. Sometimes when you're a net rusher, you just got to be patient. Sometimes 2 or 3 shots are needed at the net to finish the point off.
Another chance. Wrap up this opening set. Better serve.
Yes.
Sensational! What else can you say about this guy? We've used so many superlatives this week to describe his athletic ability. He just keeps one-upping us. How much court he covers here and gets there comfortably in the end. Great anticipation. As soon as he hit the forehand cross-court dipper, he was taking off, expecting the drop volley.
Another set point. It's not easy. I think he was still a little out of breath after the previous point. Still sucking it up.
Indecision. Didn't know if he wanted to let the ball bounce, but at the last minute changed his mind, decided he wanted to hit a volley.
Well, he has chances, but Djokovic eventually prevails. And as a result, he's hanging around in this opening set. Simon leads 5-4.
That's better. Added a little bit more topspin to that forehand. That's what gave him the control. First shaky forehand from the Frenchman. As much racket head speed as we've been used to seeing.
That's a sign of a very confident individual. His first ace of the set. It was an excellent set of tennis. Djokovic tried to find a way through the Frenchman, just made a few too many unforced errors when it really mattered, and the one break was enough to separate the two. 6-4.
Thank you.
That's a good second serve, a lot of work on it. This court does take spin. If you hit a heavily sliced ball, it'll stay nice and low. If you do hit with a lot of top spin, then it will kick up nice and high as well. Again, some of the counter-punching that we've seen from the Frenchman of late has been absolutely outstanding. And that was another excellent example. Excellent use of that kick serve. And that's a good start to this second set.
One of the keys for Simo is how well he soaked up the pressure in the opening set. He hasn't had to do too much. You can see just standing about 2-3 meters behind the baseline. He's very comfortable there, and he's been prepared to soak up everything that Djokovic has thrown at him. He's replied with some good aggression of his own, but unfortunately Djokovic is being forced to hit the ball ever closer to the lines and is making more and more unforced errors.
Twice as many, in fact, as the Frenchman, 22 compared to just 11 so far.
Djokovic showing some good defensive capabilities on that occasion.
For Simon, he didn't say what's the reason.
So the trainer being called for the Frenchman. Interesting. Hopefully it's nothing too severe. Full marks to Djokovic for forcing Simon to play one more shot when he came into the net.
Simon will be disappointed that he couldn't finish this point off because he does everything right. Just has to get a bit of net clearance there. Points his.
First break points of the match for Djokovic. It's the percentage play when you need a point. Go with a slider. Well, again, it was a great hustle by Simon, that lovely little squash shot off the forehand wing, and forcing Djokovic to take more risks as he was attempting to win the point.
Just one thing I think Djokovic needs to do on that approach shot is not try and hit it so hard all the time. Sometimes it's a good idea to give the approach shot a little bit more air. It gives you time to close the net down as well and position yourself. It's also a good way of getting easy depth on your shot.
And especially considering the Frenchman does like the pace.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Another remarkable hustle. Djokovic utterly dominating the rally throughout the course of it until the very last moment.
Another moment of magic from the Seymour backhand. It's amazing how he makes that shot. Just keep in mind, he's sitting relatively flat. There's not a whole lot of spin there, so there's no room for error. He's painting the lines at the moment.
Both players working really hard physically. Well, that's how difficult it's been to earn cheap points. And the quality of his shot making there, Djokovic, I mean, he hit like a good 5 or 6 balls as sweetly as he possibly could before he eventually drew the error. And I think this is when Djokovic will feel the advantage of having had yesterday off before his last match. Seymour, of course, played the first evening match. Last time Djokovic played was Thursday. It's been a tough all season as well for all of the players here.
That's good ball striking from the serve. Clean as a whistle. This would be a real shot in the arm if you could get a break of serve here early on in the second.
Struggling with his first serve at the beginning of this set. He's only made 4 of 11 so far. And it'll be interesting to see what the trainer treats, because we don't know as yet what the problem is, and it might be affecting his serve. And that's why Djokovic will be desperate to try and get the break here. You've got to try and make hay while the sun's shining. He's certainly getting frustrated, and it's understandable. And another hard-fought service game. Seymour did remarkably well to hold there, having made only 4 of 12 first serves. One apiece.
Ladies and gentlemen, Djokovic is challenging Gilles on the left center service line.
Well, interestingly, Seymour was actually walking, so he must have felt it was pretty good as well. No, wide. Good call.
Second service.
It's all out attack from Djokovic. He is going to break the door down if he has to.
And again, really nice use of that kick serve. He was varying it really well. He knows that Seymour's one of the best returners in the business, and he knows the advantage in varying both the direction and the pace.
That was a classic. I don't see that too often. That was a good eye from Djokovic. It wasn't that far out. It's never in doubt.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem there as he throws the ball up. And that's why he's only made 6 of 15 first serves so far. Still break point.
Ladies and gentlemen, most challenging in the world, the level is at the line. Between goal.
So Simon and Enrique Molina go toe-to-toe. And it's the umpire who comes out on top.
7 seconds.
Excellent call.
And Djokovic.
Well, it's a real shame. Obviously in a great deal of discomfort there on serve.
Simon has 2 challenges remaining.
Djokovic did well to make the most of it. a lovely little volley.
15 off.
Yeah, does an excellent job opening up the racket face to give the ball just enough height to get over the net. Continue to follow the line of the ball afterwards. He just made Simon aware that he was still there.
30 off.
Better.
Wasn't a bad approach, but the forehand was outstanding from Simon. Yet again, able to get the ball down to Djokovic's feet. And then the two-shot combination finished off with precision.
He can only challenge on a point-ending shot, so that's why the Frenchman stopped the rally. Big call. Just scored a line, so Simon loses the point. Djokovic holds serve. That first serve percentage is languishing in the low 30s now. Still obviously having all sorts of problem with the neck. And it must be so frustrating for him because he started the match so brightly.
Exactly. Playing some awesome tennis. Definitely the better player of the two.
Rash shot. judgment.
Outstanding lunge volley though from Djokovic. Did well to keep the ball in play. A lot of agility to make a shot like this one coming up. It's good stuff. Seymour had a good play on it.
It's not often you see the top players in the world misjudge shots like that. Well, again, I think that's the one shot that he needs to just get a little more elevation on.
Absolutely. He's hit far too many in the net. Sometimes depth can do more damage than pace. It's not always about how hard you can hit the ball. I think depth is a lot more effective.
Double break would surely seal the deal. Too good.
Yes.
Never deviated from its path. Going to hit a winner from there. He's too far behind the baseline. He has to recognize that sooner rather than later. Seymour is going to run that down all day long. Just got to be a bit more patient.
He got there in the end. He made hard work of it. Still just the one break separating these two.
Djokovic has done a whole lot better in the second set. Fortunately for Simo, his numbers are going in the wrong direction. Forehand has troubled him in this match. The 19 unforced errors, more than half of the unforced he's made in this match have come from the forehand side.
Service.
That's brilliant stuff.
Well, he's having to draw on every ounce of energy to get the job done. Again, Simo's defense is outstanding. And it takes about 3 virtual winners before he finally gets the job done.
Well, it's no good backing it up with a point like that. And that's been the problem for Djokovic throughout the course of the match. He's played 1 or 2 really good points and then he's just thrown in an error inexplicably on the very next point.
The reaction right there says exactly that. Can't understand what's going on.
brutal service game.
Djokovic leads 5 games to 2.
A real mixed bag, but gets the hold and extends his lead. 5-2 now, this evening's semi-final matches. Nicely done.
This was a good drop shot. Good disguise. I think that's what undid Seymour. He only picked it up very late and then was struggling for options. Outmaneuvered by the Serb. Beautiful. Textbook attacking tennis. It's that flat backhand approach shot that's so effective. Keeps moving forward through the volley. That's what gives it the extra pace.
Took one for the team. And it's difficult to be aggressive from that position in the court and at that stage of the rally. Better serving. One break was enough to wrap up the opening set for the Frenchman, and we'll know momentarily whether one break will be sufficient for Djokovic to take the second. Brilliance. Fantastic tennis from the Frenchman.
But I tell you, for the highlights reels for this week, it's going to be a close call between Murray and Seymour, because both of them have had so many spectacular shots throughout the course of the week. It's been an absolute joy to watch. Standing second serve, I think good for both boxers, this one.
15 all. No challenges remaining for Tsonga.
Well, that's a sensational from both players. I thought that was the winner. How Djokovic got out of jail here, only he knows. That was world class.
A moment of magic takes Djokovic to within 2 points of wrapping up this second set. But again, it's the great points followed by the unforced error. That's what's so frustrating about his performance this afternoon.
Because at the end of the day, they count for the same, don't they? You don't get 3 extra bonus points because you hit a special backhand winner down the line.
I think you get bonus points with the girlfriend, though, that's for sure.
100%.
Good length. Just gave that forehand a little more air and got the ball a little deeper as a result. He's had to work hard to turn things around here, but he's got an opportunity now to take us into a deciding set.
Game second set Djokovic. By 6 games to 3.